Hi, tonight's bedtime story is called The Third Gift, and this is a new one to me this year. My father collects tears. That is what they're called, the pearls of sap that seep out of a tree when the bark is cut. Maybe they're called tears because it seems as if the tree is crying. My father knows where the good trees are. I walk with him, the basket in one hand, the water gourd slung over my shoulder. We walk a long way. Some of the trees are close together, but most of them are far apart. One tree here, another tree there, yet another far beyond. They are not beautiful trees. Their branches are stunted, knotty, spiny. Their leaves are a dull grayish green. My father has to see inside each tree. Of course, he can't really see inside, but he looks carefully at the trunk and the branches. He tears off a leaf and sniffs it. He runs his hand along the bark. Sometimes he shakes his head. No, not this tree, not now. And we walk again in the heat and dust. Other times, he nods his head and takes up his axe. This is another thing he knows. How to cut through the bark twice in the shape of an X, not too deep, not too shallow, and in exactly the right place. He makes the first cut, then the second. He steps back. Together, we watch. I hold my breath. A tear begins to emerge, a tear of sap, the blood of a tree. If my father has chosen well, and he always does, for he has been harvesting these tears all his life, plenty of sap will bubble out from a pocket beneath the bark. It will form a fine big tear before the sap ceases flowing. The outside of the tear will dry in the hot sun until he can pick it off with his fingers. My father's tears are large, their rough dried shell protecting the treasure of resin within. Other collectors are not as skilled as he is. Their tears are small, all shell and no center. My father sells the tears to the spice merchant in the marketplace. Because the tears take time and skill to harvest, they fetch good sums of money, and people must pay even more to buy them. The tears are used for many things. They can be ground up as medicine for headaches or stomach aches. They are used to flavor wine. Some people like to rub resin on their skin to soothe rashes. The best tears, the most expensive ones, are used for funerals. The tears are ground into a powder, then steeped in oil. The oil is used to wash the body of one who has died. Other tears are burned during a funeral, so their scent fills the air. It's a sharp smell, both bitter and sweet. When you smell the tears at a funeral, you know that someone truly beloved has died. My father takes me with him to harvest the tears. He holds out a leaf for me to sniff. He tells me to run my hand over the bark of a tree. I do not yet know what I'm supposed to smell or feel, but one day I will. Until then, I carry the basket and the water gourd, and I watch and try to learn. My father checks the last of the good trees. He smiles. Look, he says. I look and see the biggest tear yet, as large as a hen's egg, nearly as large as my fist. You see it right there? Go ahead, he says, still smiling. I set the basket down and reach for the tear. I twist it off carefully but quickly, just as I have seen him do it. I hold it in my palm and turn it over. I sniff its sharp, bitter sweetness. Then I place it gently in the basket. On the way home, I look at it again and again. A few weeks later, we walk to the market. It's after midday when we arrive. The spice merchants wave and call to us. I've been waiting for you. Inside his tent, there are 3 men drinking tea. They wear fine robes, red, gold, and blue. I've never seen such robes before. The spice merchant says to his customers, "This is the man I was telling you about." The man in red greets my father. "We are buying gifts," he says. "We have some already, but we wish to buy one more. Something special." My father nods at me. I give the basket to the merchant. With practiced fingers, he culls through the tears and places several of the largest on a cloth. In the center is my tear. The 3 men examine the tears. They speak to one another in strange language. Finally, they look at the merchant and my father, and they nod. We have a gift of gold and a gift of frankincense, says the man in red. Now we will add them to a gift of myrrh. As the spice merchant wraps the tears, he says, "May I ask who the gifts are for?" I'm glad he asked, for I want to know too. The man in red does not speak for a moment. Then he says, "The gifts are for a baby." I frown a little. Myrrh is a strange gift to give a baby, but of course I say nothing, and I am proud that my tear, the one I harvested, is to be part of the gift. I watch the three men mount their camels. I watch them leave the marketplace. I watch as they ride into the desert, and I wonder about the baby. There's a picture. The end. Bye.